Stand back and peep the light show. Green Lantern's got this!
This dumb little meme thing I made about a year or so ago was made just to show to some of my friends and have a quick little laugh about it. But it honestly is a good summary of how DC has treated Green Lantern ever since the 2011 movie came out. Green Lantern had always been a popular enough character. Since the introduction of Hal Jordan in the 60s during the Silver Age, there had always been either a solo Green Lantern book, a Green Lantern Corps book, or a team-up book of some kind like Green Arrow, Green Lantern. Over the years, we gained additional Green Lanterns like Guy in the 60s or like John in the 70s, but the title really began to rise in the 90s and going on into the 2000s. DC had an event called Emerald Twilight, which was more or less a response to the death of Superman. To make a long story short, Hal Jordan is not a Green Lantern anymore and is essentially out of the picture as far as anyone is concerned. And we're introduced to a new younger Lantern named Kyle Rayner. Kyle goes on to become the main Green Lantern for the remainder of the 90s for the Green Lantern solo book and also in team-up books like the JLA run that Grant Morrison had. There would also be crossovers between the Green Arrow at the time, Connor Hawke, and Wally West's Flash. On TV, Kyle made his appearance in Superman the Animated Series.
But I'm just an artist. I doodle in the margins of notepads. I daydream about color and form and monster trucks. I live half my life in a fantasy world.
You sound perfect.
And more prominently, John was featured in shows like Justice League and Justice League Unlimited.
Yeah, you can kiss my axe.
Things really kick into high gear for the character around 2004 when writer Geoff Johns gets put on the Green Lantern title. Prior to this, Johns was working on titles such as Hawkman, JSA, and The Flash, all of which are runs that are beloved by the fan bases for those specific titles. Similar to those works before, Johns plays around with bits of continuity and with the characters in the title and creates new things out of that. The most notable thing that Johns does to start off the run at least is bring back Hal Jordan as the main Lantern. Although throughout the run, the other Earth-based Lanterns like Guy, John, and Kyle are incorporated into the story as well. The run starts off relatively small in scale, but grows and expands the universe as it goes on. You have Hal fighting opponents on Earth, there's a little team up with Green Arrow, but around volume 3 or 4 is when the universe really starts to expand. A lot of the now standard parts of Green Lantern lore are created in this run, like the emotional spectrum, plus a bunch of the characters that are introduced alongside the spectrum. The run even included a few big events that incorporated multiple Lantern titles and DC characters across the board, like the Sinestro Corps War and Blackest Night, occurring in Green Lantern books and having plenty of tie-ins with other characters' books. At this point, sales-wise, Green Lantern was even being a rival to Batman and Superman. That's how big the title became. Meanwhile, on TV, the Lanterns are doing just as well, appearing in multiple cartoons like Batman Brave and the Bold. Hal alone appears in The Batman. There was the direct-to-video movie Green Lantern First Flight, released in '09, and Hal also appeared in the various Justice League animated movies at the time. It was doing so well that at the time, DC Direct had a Blackest Night-specific line of action figures and rings that you could buy. And it wasn't isolated to just things like your local comic shop or hobby shop or whatever. You could walk into Walmart and look on the shelf and you would see an Atrocitus figure next to a Star Sapphire figure, next to the Black Lantern Batman figure. It was a pretty cool thing to see at the time because, generally speaking, second-tier characters like Green Lantern would never get treatment similar to this. At the time, it looked like you could only go bigger and bigger with the Green Lantern character. And then there was talk of a live-action movie getting made. At this point on the internet, I feel like we all know that the movie is a mess. The production is all over the place, getting kicked around over and over again until the late 2000s when it finally started gaining traction. Notoriously, the thing became a massive financial flop to the extent that DC had to restart their cinematic universe, giving way to the movie Man of Steel taking its place as the foundation of a new cinematic universe. In addition to the movie bombing, the merchandise for it just sat on shelves as well, which would eventually impact other Green Lantern things down the line, unfortunately. Personally, I don't think it's the worst superhero movie out there, but it is definitely very mediocre, especially for the time, since you had things like the Avengers around the corner and Nolan's Batman was still going on at the time. So it wasn't like the early 2000s when comic book movies would struggle more often than not. We were kind of getting in the swing of things at this point. The cast is great, but unfortunately a lot of them don't really get much to do. But on the positive side of things, Ryan Reynolds did meet Blake Lively through the movie, so that's a nice thing you can glean from it. The ripples created by the impact of the movie could be felt for the character for the remainder of the 2010s, unfortunately. The fan-favorite animated series for Green Lantern was canceled after only one season. Similar to Young Justice, the biggest reason for the cancellation is apparently due to low toy sales, and a lot of people believe that happened because of the 2011 movie killing the brand for your average consumer. Speaking of Young Justice, both Hal and John appear in that, but they are very bit players compared to what they were in cartoons during the 2000s. The Arrowverse, which did start because Greg Berlanti essentially was banished from films to TV, did acknowledge Green Lantern numerous times throughout the run of all of the shows, but we never got around to seeing anything outside of a green light in a box that Diggle had. Lanterns had made various appearances as supporting characters or cameos in animated and live-action movies, but it took until last year for one Lantern to become the lead character in an animated movie once again. Theatrically speaking, the only appearances Lanterns had in the 2010s end up being a very brief cameo in the Justice League movie. And Hal can be seen in the Lego Batman movie as well as the Lego movie. In the Lego Batman movie, he doesn't really do too much, but he's there. In the Lego movie proper, Hal is treated like a joke, being more of an annoyance than anything to Superman.
Can't get much worse than this.
Hello, neighbor.
Oh no.
It's Green Lantern. Oh my gosh, we're roommates. How crazy is that?
Does anyone have some kryptonite that they could give me?
Yes, email mistakes happen all the time. Sometimes I don't get Superman's emails for years.
Great point, GL.
As for the books, John stuck around for a few volumes early into the New 52, and despite having writers like Robert Venditti and Sam Humphries writing titles after John's, the Green Lantern books never reached the high highs that they did in the 2000s. The stories haven't cratered, at least. There hasn't been anything that everyone universally points to as bad. But the Green Lantern books overall have definitely fallen back down to earth and are now just a middle-of-the-pack type of book that you can get every month. Hal has appeared in both of the Injustice games, and John appears as an alternate skin in Injustice 2. There is hope for the Lanterns in the future, though, as far as being adapted into other media. We have Guy Gardner in the upcoming James Gunn project Superman Legacy. In that movie, he will be played by none other than Nathan Fillion, which is pretty good casting in my opinion. The Lanterns will also have a TV show. It's going to be a detective cop-like approach to the characters, starring John and Hal, simply titled Lanterns. There isn't much about that project outside it being a TV show on Max, or whatever the hell they're going to call that platform by the time that show ends up airing. So hopefully those two projects can get the Lanterns back in the general public's good graces compared to where they are now. Thank you for checking out this video. I appreciate you for doing that. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, all the fun algorithm boosting activities that you can do. As for the next subject I tackle, I'm thinking about going over the Marvel Noir titles. I read all of those earlier in this summer, and they're definitely interesting to say the least. So stick around if you're interested in that, and don't forget to go back and check out some of the other videos I've made. We got plenty of Marvel, DC, Star Wars, what have you. So I will catch you guys in the next video.